She entered the mansion in silence, not as a guest, not even as a worker, but as something closer to invisible. A Muslim woman, middle-aged, veiled, with nothing but a prayer mat in her bag and survival in her heart. The house belonged to 6 wealthy Arab men raised with power, surrounded by gold. They didn't see her as a person, but over time, they would kneel in front of her, not in fear, not in guilt, but in respect. This is not fiction. This is a true story of a woman who changed 6 lives. Without saying a word, her name was Amina, but no one in that house ever used it. She was simply the maid. She had left her village in Bangladesh after her husband's death, burdened with debt and 3 children to feed. An agency had placed her in the Gulf, promising decent work and fair pay. What she walked into was a palace, rich in luxury, poor in humanity. The 6 brothers who lived there, heirs to an oil empire, were used to servants, silence, and submission. Amina's job was to clean, cook, and disappear. No questions, no presence, no dignity. But what made her different wasn't her strength or defiance, it was her discipline. No matter how exhausted she was, she prayed 5 times a day. She didn't ask for breaks, she didn't beg for mercy, she simply prayed quietly, consistently, without fail. At first, the brothers laughed. They mocked her prayers, threw things near her, made fun of her accent and silence. To them, she was strange, a relic of poverty and piety they couldn't understand. But Amina never responded. No anger, no complaints, not even a look of resentment. She endured every insult with a strange kind of grace. And slowly, it began to unsettle them. One day, everything changed. The eldest brother, the one who controlled most of the family's wealth, suddenly fell ill. At first, it seemed like exhaustion, but within 48 hours, he was paralyzed, speechless, motionless. The doctors were baffled. Scans showed nothing. Blood work was clean, but his eyes were full of fear. Then the youngest brother began having violent dreams, waking in the night, sweating, screaming. Another began hearing voices, calling out from the walls, from the halls. What had once been a home of ego became a place of confusion and dread. In the silence of their fear, they noticed something. Amina was still praying, still calm, still unshaken, and for the first time they began to wonder. One evening, the second youngest brother approached her, not as a master, not as an employer, but as a man in need. He asked if she would pray for his brother. She said nothing. She simply washed, laid her mat near the sickbed, and began reciting verses from the Quran, softly, steadily, sincerely. Within the hour, the eldest brother began to stir. His eyes opened. He blinked. He whispered. The doctors called it spontaneous recovery, but the brothers knew better. They had seen arrogance fall and grace rise. From that moment, the house changed. No more mocking. No more commands barked without respect. They offered Amina her own room, a proper salary, a ticket to visit her children, but she asked for none of it. She continued to work with dignity, her quiet prayers now protected, even admired. When her contract ended and she prepared to return home, the youngest brother asked her why she had never spoken backseat. She simply smiled and left a note behind. True power doesn't speak, it prays and it endures. In a world obsessed with control, Amina reminded them and us that real strength isn't loud. It's not in shouting or revenge, it's in patience, in character, in unwavering faith. She walked into that mansion unseen. She left it unforgettable, because sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who never need to prove it.